having to go to work and pack up your box and your belongings and you leave the company and you're like, I gave my heart and soul to this company. I believed, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And then you got to go home and deal with yourself, your feelings, and all the things. But what I decided to have my feelings at that time. But then I was looking at, okay, I'm a person of resilience. I'm always looking for, if something happens to me, I got to figure out how am I going to use this to bounce back to do better.
Okay, everybody, this is Living the Next Chapter. This is Dave. Okay, if you're listening to this on an audible version, I hope that you are holding on. Put your seatbelt on, because we have Dee Bowden with us today. Dee is fire. She's excitement. She's everything, all combined. Super amazing person. And she's here to share her book and her journey with us. And I have the book, which I'm showing to the television audience at the moment. Collect the Cash. It arrived in the mail today. You've got the timing of an expert. Dee Bowden is here. Dee, hello. How are you?
Hey, Dave. I'm fantastic. How are you? As I like to say, good morning, good afternoon, good evening to your fabulous listening audience around the world. Thank you so very much for the opportunity to be on the show, for us to have a great conversation about Collect the Cash and all the things. As like I say, all the things.
Okay, so just a second, Dee. So as you're listening to this podcast, if you haven't already picked up on Dee's extremely amazing, positive attitude, stick around because there's going to be a lot more from Dee. Okay, Dee, yeah, I've been looking forward to this. Since we chatted already once. Yeah. I made my notes. I have the book. I'm ready to learn, Dee. I am ready to learn. The audience hasn't seen your book yet, some of the people listening. So what I want to do is introduce you to them and them to you. And let's go down this path. First, Dee, tell everybody where you are in the world and tell me one thing that right now you are so excited about in your life.
Well, first of all, so if it's okay, I like to do it this way. So yeah. I'm Dee Bowden. I'm originally from Boston. I now live in the great state of Maryland. Mm-hmm. My fun facts are this. I have three. So I'm going to cheat. I have three. I love Ferris wheels, smooth jazz. And if you're a wine drinker, I love great wines, both red and white. One of my favorite things to do is to go wine tasting. I especially this time of year, it's like the perfect thing. And if you can find a vineyard where they give you a tasting and they explain the wines to you, it's great. I love Ferris wheels. Those of you who love amusement parks, y'all are probably like, boo, Ferris wheels are super boring. I know. Well, y'all go ride the roller coasters. I like the calmer things, so I like the Ferris wheel. And then smooth jazz is one of my ways of self-care. And as an entrepreneur and just as a person in life, self-care is really important. And most people think of self-care as, we go to the spa or whatever. But I believe this. You need to find the thing or things that rejuvenate you. So me, smooth jazz is one. So as often as I can, I'm looking for outdoor, concerts and things of that nature. There are a lot of people that enjoy sports or, going to the beach or going to the gym. I just believe as an entrepreneur and as a person in life, you got to find ways to refuel yourself because life takes a lot out of you. And if you don't replenish that, you don't have enough to have momentum for the next thing or things that you have to face in life and in business.
Okay, so Dee, right, I love this. Okay, so just before we get into everything else, I have two recommendations and one scary story for you. Which one do you want to hear first?
The scary story.
Okay, Ferris wheel. I was on a Ferris wheel when I was a teenager with a bunch of our friends, and they kind of placed us on the Ferris wheel in a way that they couldn't stop it because there was no people on the other side to counterbalance us. So we kept going around, and where we would stop at the bottom, we went right back up again. Right back up again. We were there for like an hour and a half. They couldn't stop the Ferris wheel. And it was the freakiest thing ever because we just wanted to get off, right? So, so I love Ferris wheels, but in that situation, it wasn't the best use of my time. Let's put it that way. Okay. Recommendations. Yeah. Smooth jazz. I had a guest on my other podcast, the Add to My Playlist podcast. His name is Tony Saunders. Amazing jazz bass player. Famous father, Merle Saunders, lives in California. And Tony is a super person and an amazing jazz bass player. And number 3 is we live in wine country up here in Niagara. And if you ever have the chance to come here, I will take you to a winery for a tasting. How's that?
That is fabulous. And then now that I know that, I'm going to have to put in a request because I'm going to have to find out where your favorites are because I'm going to say, okay, I want you to ship me these.
There you go. Okay. So we've already bonded right there, except for the Ferris wheel love. We're good. Okay. So, let's talk, T. See what I said? I love this. This is going to be so much fun. Okay. T, you have this great book, Collect the Cash. Tell me why you wrote this book, first of all.
Great question, Dave. So the reason I wrote the book is this. So about 15 years ago, I used to work for a small IT company outside of Boston where I'm from. For those of you that have worked in corporate or nonprofits or government agencies, you know how it is. You get hired, welcome aboard, here's your cubicle, here's your box, and here's your plant. In my case, they had 8 million. When I got hired, the comptroller said, hey, we've got a collections team and we're collecting money, but we've got an issue. And I'm like, what kind of issue? They're like, we've got $8 million in outstanding receivables. You have how much? She said $8 million. I thought she was kidding. And so she gave me the report with all the accounts. And she said, we haven't been able to crack this code and we need you to crack this code. I said, okay. So I'm a believer. So I talked to God. I went to God and conversation kind of went like this. Hey, God. Yes, D. How are you? Overall, I'm fantastic. In your word, you said, if you lack knowledge, come ask me and I will give it to you freely. And so when I got quiet, what I learned was that business to business collections, aka accounts receivable, is 3 things. It's problem solving. It's answering the question of what had happened was, why didn't we get paid? The second thing is customer service, whether it's products, sneakers, services, customer service. The follow-up is as I like to say it this way, the fortune is in the follow-up. Then the last thing, the secret sauce, is gratitude. And the gratitude was this. It was for every person that I had to go call on behalf of the company that I worked for and say, hi, my name is D. Can I speak to the person in accounts payable, please? And they took my phone call, number 1. Then they told me how come they didn't pay us, number 2. And then building a relationship, getting them to take our stuff from, past 90 days to saying we're going to cut the check. It was that. And then, so after that, I collect $6 million in 60 days. Now get this, y'all. I only work part-time, Monday through Friday, 4 to 8. Dave asked me why I wrote the book. This is why I wrote the book. It's because of after working for this company, collecting that much money, the CEO of the company says, listen, we want to have a conversation. Now I'm thinking because my team has I've collected 6 million and everybody else has collected their money. I'm thinking collectively, we're going to get a bonus. Just like if you're in sales, you usually get a commission. So I'm thinking, okay, we're going to get a bonus. He calls us all downstairs. He says, listen, thank you so much for all your hard work. Appreciate everybody across all the departments. We've made an executive decision. We're closing the company today and you have to leave the building in 30 minutes and collect all your stuff. And this is 2 months before Christmas. Now, when I tell that story, most people are like, oh my gosh, it's amazing. The amazing part is that how much money I collected. That's the first part. The second amazing part was the fact that after watching this company go out of business, fast forward to COVID, I'm watching Kmart, Charmin Charlie's, I don't know, there were some other companies. Oh, and then the bigger thing was the small business owners that were scrambling to get the loans. Because I promise you that most of them probably had sales on the books and they didn't go collect the cash because they didn't want to ruffle feathers. And I'm watching my story happen over and over and over again. And my book coach heard me tell this same story. And she says, D, you have a system. You can teach us how to win with our money. And you have a why. Your why is not just you. It's that you want to make a difference, of course, in a dollar. But your why is that you want us to win. So she challenged me. She said, D, I'm a small business owner. I don't have the system in place that you just described. Would you work with me and let's write this book together? And I played double dutch and she won. And that's why you have Collect the Cash today. But I wrote the book because of what happened to me personally. And then I wanted to make a difference. And so the difference was to be able to take my story, put it in the book and give you, the business owner, practical steps on how to do this, how to track your accounts, how to handle difficult customers, what to do when your payments don't come in, how do you set up yourself with systems so that you know how many sales you have, how many accounts you have, and what do you do. And then I wanted to leave a legacy because all of us are here, I believe, including you, Dave, all of us are here to serve, and we got to find our lane of service and then make a difference. And my difference happens to be collecting money, lots of it. And that's why I wrote the book.
It's great, D. And the one thing that I'm really relating to, as well as your story about, the company closing and you having to walk away from a job. It happened to me 3 times on 3 different occasions in 3 different companies. And I got to tell you that walk out to your car with a cardboard box and your belongings is probably the longest walk I've ever had. And then that phone call back to your family, your community, whoever's around you, saying, well, I got laid off or fired or let go today. And just the gut-wrenching feeling, right? That for any reason, it could be finances, that the company is struggling. It could be you were bought out. You could be that you have a new boss who doesn't like the color of your shirt. It could be anything. And you could be out. Yeah. And that is probably the hardest drive home I've ever had, 3 times. And that's why I went after being an entrepreneur and doing this myself is, yes, there's a lot of risk when I'm the one that has to do all the work and put all the money up, but I'm also the one that gets all the reward, right? So that risk-reward balance is always really difficult. Who is your target audience for this great book, including myself, which now has a copy? Who is your target audience for this?
So my target audience are small to medium-sized companies in the IT space, the software as service space. Those of you especially who do services. So for example, if you have services, you come in, you get a contract, and you've got especially if you have to do payment invoicing, and you have a contract or an agreement, and you've negotiated this contract, you've done the terms, and then you do the work, and you notice, okay, the first payment, deposit came through, first payment hasn't come through, but you're still doing the work. And then it's that dance of, okay, how do I have this conversation with you to say, okay, we had an agreement. You asked me to do these services. You gave me a deposit. I'm doing the work. I'm billing you. Why aren't you paying me? And I think the part that's my target is because normally, like corporations, large companies, they don't have this issue. They have teams of people like me that do this work. So there's somebody that's, on the phone. But if you're a small, medium-sized company, your cash flow is tied up with that client that owes you money. And I know that you have to build the relationship. I know you have to do the great sales presentation. I know you have to demonstrate your products, all the things. And then once you land it, the thing is, it's not just landing the client, it's also the customer relationship, because we're not in business. We're in the relationship building business, and you have to build a relationship with your client. You got to get them as a client, number 1. Then you got to service them, number 2. Then you've got to deliver, number 3. Then you've got to bill them, number 4. And then they're going to ask you to do repeat business, or they're going to make referrals for you. And so you're constantly juggling all those things. And now if you're a solopreneur, you're the person that's doing everything I just described. And so it's super important that you have a system in place to track those things. And then here's the thing, if that's not your lane, then you need to find somebody that you can partner with that will work with you to get that piece done.
So the one thing I see, a lot of small entrepreneurs and small businesses fall into is they have no idea of their numbers. They don't know how they're doing month to month, week to week, year to year. They have nothing in their history where they can go back and say, how were we compared to last month? How were our sales this week compared to last week? They have nothing, right? So how does somebody get organized from the beginning, saying you're going to start a new business, you're going to jump into something? How do you start off well so that it leads you to success in the future?
Well, number 1, you need to make sure you set up your business legally.
Yes.
That's seriously. I mean, I joke about it, but it's seriously. So you need to have articles of organization. You have to have an EIN number. EIN stands for Employer Identification Number. Basically, that's the social security number for your business, just like you have one for your personal self. Mm-hmm. And then you also need to have a business checking account. One of the ways that you can start yourself off successfully is to stop commingling funds. I understand that when you first get started, we all do it. We all get started. We all use our savings, our retirement, whatever. We do that. But eventually, if you plan to be successful, so it's articles of organization that get yourself legally set up in business in your state or your province. Number 2, an EIN number. Number 3, a business checking account. Number 4, You may need insurance depending upon what you do. If your craft requires you be insured, get your insurance. Then 5, get a tracking system. I teach my business owners to have a tracking system. I use Excel, and Microsoft doesn't pay me for this. This is just my personal thing. I believe in having a tracking system, which is basically this. It's the name of your customer, the contract number, the amount of the contract, what do they buy from you, the date you're supposed to provide the product or service, the date you invoice them, when are the payments due, and notes. It's 6 things. And you just keep track of it for every client. And then if the payment doesn't come in on the date it's scheduled on your system, the next day you're doing follow-ups, either automatically or something. But yeah, doing that.
So, but D, I'm the type of person, I'm speaking for somebody else here. I'm the type of person that just doesn't like confrontation. Mm-hmm. I don't like to call and say, hey, you didn't pay your bill. And it's my friend, Joe, and he'll come around. We have an agreement, a handshake agreement. It'll happen. Joe will pay when Joe pays. What's your response to that?
And so that's part of why a lot of small businesses have challenges, is because they have a handshake versus a document that if something goes left, you actually have something to follow upon. So you have the handshake agreement, which is what a lot of people do. But unfortunately, if something goes left, what goes left is that you may not get paid. Number one. Number 2, you have no recourse to come back and say, hey, for example, if you need to take them to court or you need to do something, you have nothing to show for the agreement. And then number 3, it's just not a good way to start off doing business. I believe that you need to have a document, even if it's on one page that says, we agreed to this, these services or this product. Here's a perfect example. If you were going to get your house painted, the painter that comes over to your house, they usually have a quote. They come on, they give you a quote for how many gallons of paint, how many brushes, et cetera, et cetera. And they're not going to paint until you sign that quote or you sign that agreement saying, okay, I agree to pay this. They usually ask you for a deposit. Then they come in and they'll do so much. And then here's the thing. Before they finish painting, you have to make your payments. And why do they do that? Because they know that they have to protect themselves. Because even if you're the best of friends, the relationship can go sour in a heartbeat over money. And the goal is that if you expect to be in business long term, you have to understand that business requires systems, operations, contracts, or agreements in place so that you can keep moving forward.
Even if you're a small business, you still have to act, think, plan, track as if you were a big business.
Exactly. Because here's the thing. All the businesses that we admire today, think about this. They were all small businesses at one point. And what they did was they had an idea. Then they started doing the things we talked about. They created the articles organization, an EIN number, the business checking account. I'm sure they eventually got licenses. I'm sure they eventually end up getting teams. They got an accountant and a salesperson and an attorney. Over time, they grew, but the point is they started with a basic structure that says, I'm here to do business. Business requires transactions. It's not just a handshake. It's a transaction, but it's a transaction that's documented and it has expectations that you're going to meet them and we're going to pay me for them. It's not free. It's not free.
Yeah. Interesting. Okay. So you talk about this in the book. Let's go a little bit deeper into the spirit of gratitude and why this is in the book and why you think this is important in business.
Sure thing. Well, here's the thing. Dave, it's a great question. People ask me that all the time. Why do you talk about this so much? I say, well, here, if you think about it this way, I don't know if they do this in Canada, but here in the States, they do this. During the holiday season, at the end of every year, most business owners, medium, large, and even small ones, they do this. They send you out a holiday card. And it's usually, hey, happy holidays to you and your family. Thank you so much for being our customer. We've enjoyed serving you this year. We wish you the best. And then next year, we look forward to serving you in the future. What are they doing? They understand that number one, you have a choice with where you spend your money and where you spend your money and where you spend your time. It's so funny. I started with gratitude because of this. Number one, I was raised that, when people help you or assist you with getting things done, you say thank you. So in my business and in my career, the people that I've worked with have always taken my phone call, researched invoices for me. For clients that I work with, when they've cut the check on behalf of my client, I believe in saying thank you. That's the first thing. Secondly, I just noticed something. I was just looking at a pattern. I noticed that during the holiday season, businesses, small, medium, and large, they usually do some kind of gratitude for your business. They send you a card and they'll say, happy holidays. Thank you for being our customer. We've enjoyed serving you all year. We wish you and your family, the best during the holiday season and look forward to taking care of you or serving you in the following year. And I just noticed that small gesture was something that was just different because not every business does that. But I just noticed that it was a pattern of things that we're doing. And what I started noticing was this. People have a choice where they spend their time, their energy, and especially their dollars. And the people that thank you for doing business with them, it sets you apart. For example, I'm sure there's well, here in the States, we have something called, what is it called? What's the holiday? Is it not holiday yet? It's, oh my gosh, I can't believe the name of the hotel. I'm drawing a blank. But anyway, there's this hotel that serves warm chocolate chip cookies. And
I've heard about this. Yes.
So I can't think of the name.
Yeah.
What's that?
Is it DoubleTree?
Yes. DoubleTree. Right. So they serve. So one of their gratitudes is for you staying with their hotel is that they create this experience. They give you warm chocolate chip cookies. Now, it's funny. You can be the most serious, the most professional person. It's something about a warm chocolate chip cookie that brings you all the way back to being a little kid, and it just does something. But here's the thing: what people know is that experience of gratitude for you deciding to spend your time and your money with them. This is a little thing that they do, but it's what people. If I say it, people are like, "Oh my gosh, yes, I love chocolate chip cookies." So the gratitude thing is, and it's funny because there's a gentleman, I think his name is Chester Elton, I think is his name. And he does an article like every week about gratitude. And I'm just loving the fact that people are bringing gratitude into life and into business. Because if you get, for example, the companies that we admire the most, one of the things we talk about is how they make us feel. So, for example, Chick-fil-A, not getting paid for this, but Chick-fil-A creates this whole experience when you come into their store. And it's all about, solving whatever problem it is around the food. They want to make sure you have a great customer experience. And their tagline is, "It's my pleasure to serve you." That's their way of expressing gratitude. And it's just this thing. And I feel like it's a principle that can be used in life and in business. And when you recognize that people have a choice, and if you take care of your customers, I personally believe your customers will take care of you. And it's just like in anything else. But that's why I do gratitude.
I like that a lot. That's really good.
Thank you.
I think we talked about this in our pre-interview. We kind of got on a topic about why small business matters. Why is even having a small business an important thing in our economy?
Well, first of all, every business that we interact with every business that's large today was a small business. They did conversations just like we're doing. They were brainstorming about how can we solve this problem? How can we create this product? How can we this? And they had a goal and a dream, which was to interact with the marketplace and say, okay, how can I serve you better? And so small businesses are the backbone. They're the people. If you look at it, every time something new has been created, it's usually been because it's been a small business owner or owners who have gotten together and they've talked about, they see this problem. How can we come up with something better? Okay, let's take phones. Right now, you can be Team iPhone or Android. It doesn't matter. Mm-hmm. Both teams looked at the phone and said, okay, we can create this gadget, this tool that can serve thousands, if not millions of people. They started with, iPhone 1, Samsung 1. Then they put it out there. Then they've got some feedback and they've tweaked it. Now I think we're up to 13 and 20 something on the Android side. The point is that they were looking to solve an issue in the marketplace, to plant their flag to say, this is why you should work with us. Apple was created, if I'm not mistaken, in somebody's garage.
Yeah, right.
They were just thinking. And then
such humble beginnings. Yeah.
Humble beginnings. And that's the thing. Everybody who's created a business starts off with, they want to make a difference. I wrote my book. I do what I do because I want to make a business. I personally worked for a company that went out of business. And as I didn't know, Dave, that you had that same experience, not once, but 3 times. So right, first of all, having to go to work and pack up your box and your belongings and you leave the company and you're like, I gave my heart and soul to this company. I believed, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And then you got to go home and deal with yourself, your feelings, all the things. But I decided to have my feelings at that time. But then I was looking at, okay, I'm a person of resilience. I'm always looking for, if something happens to me, I got to figure out how am I going to use this to bounce back to do better. And it just so happened that COVID with everything that happened, I was seeing companies go out of business, out of business, out of business. So I'm seeing my story played out, on the major stage. For example, I love theater. So when Broadway shut down, that for me was personal, because I'm looking at Broadway as a multi-million-dollar business in New York City. You've got all the theaters that are tied to Broadway, the business, all the theaters that were shut down, which means those were small businesses that probably had contracts to sell tchotchkes, t-shirts, all the things. And I'm thinking about them. They were counting, we asked me about how do you plan for success? I'm sure they had their contracts in place. They was expecting those sales, expecting that revenue, had money plans for the money. And I'm thinking, man, how many of them were suffering because of what happened? So I'm looking at all the things and I'm thinking, okay, how can I bring something that's so important in business, which is usually not talked about, but make it fun so people actually want to hear my story and then want to get not just get the book, but I want them to be aware that the book says collect the cash. The sale is not complete until the money's in the bank. We know this truly when you buy your cell phone. So for example, if whatever team you're on, iPhone, Android, you walk into a phone store. Hey, Dave, how are you? Great. How are you? Listen, what brings you into the store today? Oh, my phone has been having this issue. Let me get your driver's license. Let me confirm who you are. Let me pull up your account. Oh, did you know you're eligible for an upgrade? The sale has already started. You're like, I just came in to get this one thing fixed. They already started selling you. Next thing you know, walk around the store. Let's take a look and see what new phone you like. So before you know it, you're like, well, you know what? I'm thinking, okay, yeah, I probably want to upgrade. So upgrade my phone, new sale. New contract. Okay, great. You can transfer your old phone to the new phone. We'll settle up the difference. Boom. So the sales already happened. New contracts already happened. Hey, Dave, when would you like to be invoiced, which is accounts payable in business terms? You tell them when you want your invoice to come in, and they've already done a sale. They've done a contract. I missed a step. They do order fulfillment. The back of the box has a barcode, so their data entering all the information about your phone to your new account, to your account. Mm-hmm. So they do sale, contract, order entry, order fulfillment, invoicing, which is accounts payable. When do you want your bill? You tell them, which is basically collections, aka accounts receivable. You're going to pay your bill on this date. And then you go to the register, you swipe a debit card, a credit card, you pay cash, and you wait for these two magical words, transaction approved. Then you get to leave the store, because you can't leave the store until you pay for everything. Yeah. What I just described, that's the sales process. That's what every small business owner, if you do what I've just described, which is have a sale, you have a contract, you have order fulfillment, order entry, creating an account with your customer's name and information, invoicing, when are you going to bill them, when are you supposed to get paid, transaction approved, and there's a section called notes. And the notes is so that if there's something special, for example, small business owners probably do this better than most. If you build relations with your customers and you find out, their favorite, wine is such and such, you can schedule it that you could send them, say, a bottle of wine on the 6-month anniversary of the contract, or you find out their birthdays, or you realize, man, we've been having some challenges, and so I'm going to keep some notes on some of the things that keep recurring, because I need to figure out a better way to address this. Mm-hmm. But what I just described, that's what business does. And I described that in the book because I want so you asked me, there's a long answer, but you asked me, how can we set up for success? Tracking is everything, because what gets tracked gets measured, whether in business or in life. If you don't track your money, how do you know how much money you have in the bank? If you don't track, your gas, especially right now, everybody's tracking gas because everybody's like, man, it's costing a lot to gas up right now. The point is that what I just described, I use a cell phone because everybody has one, and everybody has had or will have that experience, because eventually you're going to end up having to upgrade, because even you can only do so many software updates before they say it's time for you to get an upgrade. You got to change your phone.
Yeah, that's a great example, and I think there's so many, like we talked about. There's so many in small business. You might be tempted to skip a step here and there, offer grace to people who don't deserve grace, because they are habitual as far as not paying their bills. But if you have to treat your business with respect if you want to survive. You can't treat it as a hobby and be a business person. There's a difference between a hobby and a business. And if you don't do your business right, your business will become a hobby.
Or it will close.
Yeah. Right?
Yeah. And the goal here is for you as a business owner, whether you are, emerging, you're an entrepreneur, you're a small business, you're a medium, it doesn't matter. The principles that Dave and I are talking about tonight are These are things that you can implement now. You go back and re-listen to this and go, what did you say about all those steps? And it's like, take your cell phone. I have a sale, contract, order fulfillment, order entry, invoicing, payments, notes. If you just do that with every client that you have, that's your system. And then you'll know the payment was due on this date. It hasn't come in. Either I need to make a phone call, I need to send an email, or I have to hire somebody that's going to work with me to do this. But the point is that that's how you know. And then when you mentioned something earlier, Dave, about business owners not knowing how well they've done, from last month or the last quarter. When you track this, you can set up that very thing I just described. You can set it up by quarters. Okay, how many customers did we get in the first quarter? We might need to make some more sales, or we need to get some more leads, or I need to do some more networking. I need to do some new things because I'm not making enough money right now. Okay, what do I need to do? Do I need to find somebody that can help me with some of the back office things? So I'm out attending more networking things. I'm speaking, or I'm doing the things I need to do. Then you can look at the quarters. This is the second quarter of 2022. So in 2 to 3 weeks, most business owners are going to be tallying up, man, how did we do in sales? How did we do for sales this quarter? How do we do in profits? Do people still owe us money? Do we have new contracts that are pending? When are we going to close those contracts? How are we positioning ourselves for success going into the third quarter? Also knowing that summertime is coming. So a lot of people, when it gets warm, most people are like, okay, I've worked hard for 6 months. I'm taking some time off, which you need to. When I talked earlier about self-care, self-care as an entrepreneur is very important. Whether, whatever the thing is that you need to do to refuel you, that needs to be a part of your plan as well. But, the business is set up. I do it in quarters. So the first quarter of the year is all the things that you want to get done. And then then you're looking at how you're going to improve going forward, second quarter, third quarter, fourth quarter. And one thing, Dave, that's really important to me is you have to celebrate your wins. I don't care what the win is. You have to celebrate your wins. And here's why. Celebrating the wins to me is the momentum that you need to keep going. Because when you decide to become an entrepreneur, everybody makes it look super glamorous, especially in these like I say, on these social media streets. If you just click on Instagram or Facebook or anything, it looks like you do I Dream of Genie and you're there. And it's like, no. Becoming an entrepreneur is, as Dave said, is risk reward. That's one. But number two, it's a decision to make a difference and a dollar. And here's what I know for sure. Most of us who have worked for companies or have had a career, we were great as an employee, because here's the thing. All the things that we have to do as an entrepreneur, that was already done. They already got the sale. They already have the contract. They already have all the things that we have to figure out as entrepreneurs. That business the company that we work for, they did all that stuff already. We now have to learn how to sell, how to market, how to do inventory. Oh my gosh, how to price stuff. I mean, how to deal with chargebacks, how to deal with difficult customers. What's your refund policy? All the things that as an employee, none of us had to deal with that because you just went in, you clocked in, you sat in your cubicle, you did your work and you went home. But now as a business owner, as an entrepreneur, you're responsible for all the things. And there are things that you're not going to know when you first get started. I don't care how many classes you take. There's some things you're just not going to know. Some of it, you're going to have to experience it. And then you're going to have to, I believe in coaching. I believe in getting a mentor. I believe that you have to find other people to teach you the business, because even though you go to school, you take classes, just like when we went to school, there were things you learned in the classroom, but when you graduated and got it in real life, you're like, none of that works here.
Right? Yeah, I know exactly.
It doesn't fit. And so one of the things I would tell you is that on this journey, you have to be open to be teachable. The success that I have gained now with Collected Cash and all the things is because I invest in me. I definitely believe in coaching. I believe in getting mentored. I believe in, building relationships with other small business owners and talking to them about their concerns. And here's the thing, you can't be afraid of what you don't know. And one other thing, everything is not Googleable. You can't Google everything. You can't Google everything. I mean, I get it that Google is a great resource, and I'm not saying not to use it. What I'm saying is that while you Google things, that's important, but you also need to, if you're a small business owner, there's a Small Business Administration. It's SBA.gov. They provide free training. If you want to get yourself set up on the right foot, that would be one thing. Secondly, there's an organization called SCORE. It's SCORE.org. These are senior retired executives that mentor people for free. Wow. And you get information from them. And then in your local city or province, I'm sure there's free business meetings that you need to attend. Because even though you're doing all this by yourself, that's great. Eventually you have to build relationship with other people because you don't know everything, and you can't be afraid to get out there and not know and make mistakes and tweak and learn. This journey is, Dave said it beautifully, it's risk and reward, but the rewards are fantastic. You also got to be good at taking risks as well.
Okay, so before we go, you did talk about this at the beginning of the podcast. When you're talking to these companies trying to recoup this money and get these accounts settled, you mentioned about building a relationship or how you dealt with the person on the phone on the other end. They're probably well aware, most likely in some cases, that they are behind. So how do you build genuine human connection with somebody in a situation where you are there to collect money on behalf of your company? And if you don't do your job well, there is no company. So you have to do your job well. So how do you build that bridge and treat people with dignity and respect, at the same time collect the money that you're required for your company?
Great question. I get asked it all the time. I usually start off really with, hello, I'm D. Can I speak to the person in the accounts payable, please? Hey, Susie, how are you? Listen, great to meet you. And, I know we have to talk about business, but before we get to that, I'd like to actually have a conversation. Hey, where are you from? If I hear an accent, I'm like, it's no different than you and I, Dave. Yeah. What did we do before we had on the podcast? We had a conversation. We actually got acquainted. We talked before we got into, I'd love to have you on my show. We had a connection. You were like, oh, you'd make a great guest. But here's the thing. I would not have been a great guest if we had not talked, if you had not felt a genuine connection with me. Yeah. Same thing. So I'm, where are you from in the world? Oh my gosh, that's so cool. Da, da, da. And then we talk, and then it's like, okay, listen, I do have to bring up something pretty serious, and I have to talk to you about this past due account. According to the contract, we were supposed to have been paid on such and such date, and we haven't received our payment. Before, I would like to know, is there anything that is missing? So I asked a couple of questions. Is there anything that's missing on the invoice that we missed that is holding up the payment? Number one. Number two, is there anything that wasn't done satisfactory, for example? Because I know some people will hold payments because something wasn't done right. But instead of just telling you, they'll just hold your payment. So it's like, okay, you have to basically do problem solving. You got to ask the question: is there anything that was wrong with the invoice? Did we miss something? Is there anything wrong? Was there anything wrong with the product or the service? Was something missed? Number three, how can we work together to solve this problem so that the invoice can get paid and we can continue doing business? And then you get quiet and then let them tell you. I'm serious. You have to get quiet. You have. My buddy says, "Shut up." I try to say it that way, but I'd say you have to be quiet and let them tell you, because sometimes it could be a data entry error. Especially if you're a small company that deals with, say, medium-sized companies or large companies. A lot of times they have a machine that's just kind of running things, and data entry errors are made all the time. Or it's a classic line: "I never got your invoice." Really? Can I confirm the email that you told me to send it to, please? Fix it. And right there, you can do problem solving on the spot. If they didn't get the invoice, fine. Confirm the email that was supposed to be sent to. Confirm you've got the right information. If there's a problem, if you made a mistake, here's another thing you can do. If you've made a mistake, apologize, own it, and then fix it. That's what business owners do. You take responsibility for the errors. If you made an error and something didn't go right, apologize. You're like, you know what? We missed it. We blew it. How can we course correct so this doesn't happen again? Be quiet, let them tell you, make your notes, and then follow it up with an email. Per our conversation today on such and such, we discussed this, this, and this. And then you want to make sure you want to parrot back to them what you heard, put it in the email and make sure that they got it. And then, set a time. We talked today is June 8th, 2022. We reviewed the following things. The invoice was due on June 1st. It's now the 8th. When can we expect payment? Ask them and then put it in writing and email it to them.
Yeah.
And if there are problems if there are problems that come up, acknowledge them. If you can fix them while you're on the phone, fix them. If you can fix them with an email, do that. Sometimes you have to go old school and go visit them if you need to solve the problem. Or, hey, if you can't, you can always do Zoom or Microsoft Teams. The point is that I jokingly say it this way, Dave. Everybody thinks you can solve everything with 144 characters, which is mean on text. You can't. Sometimes you actually have to have a conversation. And that's how I do it.
Human connection, and don't make wild assumptions, right? Don't come in guns loaded. Yeah. You're behind and I'm going to solve it. No, there could be any number of things, right?
Right.
And you want to build a relationship that's going to last for a long time, and how you treat even people that owe you money will impact your future and your reputation in the community as well.
Dave, say that again for the people in the back.
Yes. So how you treat people, right, will have an impact. Your community's watching.
Yes.
And everyone tells everybody everything about everything. So we talk about word of mouth marketing. Mm-hmm. Those chocolate chip cookies will make somebody pick a hotel over a different hotel just because, hey, Dee, did you hear about the cookies over here? What cookies? Come here, try the cookies.
Yeah.
So now you and I just agreed that this hotel is better than that hotel, simply not because of the bed, not because of the decor, but they have cookies.
Yeah.
So we've both decided that we like this hotel. Word of mouth. And in business, word of mouth is everything. So if you don't treat people with respect, if you don't collect the cash and do things properly, your community's going to know, and you're going to hurt your business long term. So do everything the right way. Do it the right way from the beginning. And I would suggest, I'm biased, but you would start with this. Collect the cash from D, and you would need to implement and put these very practical things that you provided in this. Put it in practice and start your business correctly. And if you're in business and you're in a mess, then you need to course correct and start doing things the right way. This book will help you. Dee will help you. She's a great resource. And Dee, how can people be a part of your world? What can we do? Come on.
Absolutely. Well, first of all, Dave, thank you so very much for the opportunity to be on the show. This has been so much fun. I'm so honored that we've got the chance to talk and not just connect, but become friends. I'm excited for that, and I'm looking forward to doing more things in the future. So listen, getting the book. Please visit www.collectthecash.biz/book. That's www.collectthecash.biz/book. One more time, www.collectthecash.biz/book. And Dave can tell you, I personally signed the book. I actually do write you a message.
Oh, there you go.
I personally write you.
I can't know if you see it or not, but it's right in there. It's right in there. Autographed copy, everyone.
I literally do sign the book. And I'm on LinkedIn as D Bowden. Instagram is @DCollects, and Facebook is D Bowden. But if you want a copy of the book, again, www.collectthecash.biz/book. It'd be my honor to serve you with the book. And then, hey, if you've got questions, reach out. Definitely, you can, like I said, you can find me on Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram. Send me a note. We can schedule a call, and then we can talk about your issues. And if you need help with breaking down, what's going on, if you need tips on how to get better with collecting the cash, or if you just you don't have a system, we can talk about the tracking system that I offer as well. And then we'll do business together one way or the other. So my goal is to make sure that you all stay in business and be successful.
Thank you, Dee. Thank you so much for your time tonight.
You're welcome. Thank you.
It's when you meet great people in your life, you celebrate, and I'm celebrating tonight because, again, thank you for the book. Thank you for your time, and thank you for your knowledge and being willing to share it with small business owners and entrepreneurs like me. We can learn so much, and I really do appreciate your time.
You're welcome.
Hi guys, this is Dave from Living the Next Chapter, a podcast designed to connect authors and audiences. We're always on the lookout for our next interview. If you're an author, a publisher, and you have a book, whether you're just starting, whether you're halfway through writing, or it's all done and you want to tell the world, that's why we're here at Living the Next Chapter. Get in touch with us through livingthenextchapter.com, contact us, and let's set up some time together to discuss your book, to discuss your project, and how we can get you on the show. My name is Dave, and I would love to speak to you. So go to livingthenextchapter.com and let's get over there together and discuss all the great things that you're up to as an author, as a publisher, and let's grow your audience together. Join us on livingthenextchapter.com for great authors and an audience that's eager to hear about what you're up to as an author and a publisher. Contact us today and let's get your book out in front of others. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you on the next one.
Mindshift Power Podcast, the podcast for teenagers and those who work with them. There's a huge problem in America today. There's a very large disconnect between teenagers and the adults who work with them. I'm looking to bridge that gap with real, raw, honest conversation, not held back by the chains of political correctness. You cannot solve a problem you do not understand. Want to understand teenagers today? Listen to this podcast. This podcast is for teens in the U.S. and Canada. To learn more, go to fatimabay.com/podcast or just look for Mindshift Power Podcast on any listening platform. I look forward to you being a faithful listener.